Saute omnes. Hodie, we're going to pick up on a topic we did at the end of our last class, Latin gossip, or indirect statement. And to begin, let's just review what we can remember from the work we did last class. Here we have these quotes from different students in the class. Can you report them using indirect statement? And as you do this, consider what words change when you report an action in Latin indirectly. So which of these phrases, which of the words in these phrases will change? So take a second to answer that question and also to convert each of these sentences into an indirect statement. All right, and here we have the answers, some of which we maybe formed last class for ourselves. Let's look again at what changed. So I added in Jake Dixit, Audiwi, Samus Dixit, Kinsey Dixit. You could say Gracia Dixit here as well. I wanted to switch it up, right? There's a lot of different words we can use here. Jake Narawit, you could say. Jake Skit, Jake knows. All sorts, any word that can report something. Looking at the phrase, what changed from Katia caput rubrem habet? Now it is Katia becomes Katiam and habet became habere. Audivi, instead of Aquarius est altus, now it's Aquarium esse altum. Instead of Gracia per dormitorium ambulat, it's Graciam per dormitoria ambulare. And Kinsey Dixit Katiam esse dulcem instead of Katia est dulcis. What are the key things that change with indirect statement? And so take a second to fill this in. What is the subject of a reported action? What case? And then what type of verb form do we use for the verb in a reported action? So pause the video. Hopefully you would have said that the subject, it changes from nominative to accusative, and the verb changes to an infinitive. In these two cases, we have a bonus word that changes because these are adjectives, and so if we change the noun that they're describing, they also have to change to agree. All right? Awesome. We're now going to expand this a little bit. In each of the previous sentences, we were not doing a bunch with the relativeness of the action being reported, right? We didn't have any examples of us reporting an action that had already happened or of us reporting an action that will happen. And so how are we going to do that? Well, you'll notice we only used one tense in the infinitive in all of our sentences. How many tenses of the infinitive are there? Pause the video and answer that question, and also answer what are they? What are the three tenses? So hopefully you said 3, and maybe you remembered they're the same 3 tenses as we have for participles: present, perfect, and future. The reason we only have 3 tenses for the infinitive is that in indirect statement, all we need to do is explain whether the action happened at the same time as you were reporting it, whether it happened before when you reported it, or when it happened, or whether it happened after, or will happen after you report it, right? So I say that Jake will have a mohawk before the end of the year, right? I'm reporting something that will be true. Jake, we'll work on that. Awesome. So, considered. Nunc. Let's take a look at what this looks in actual reality. So I've written 3 English sentences here, and I've put the reported action in italics. And I want you to choose the infinitive form that you think would make sense given the fact of when the reported action happens relative to the reporting. So I heard that Aquarius had fought cum parvis liberis. I know that Katia will understand everything. I thought that Samus was arriving. take a second and type in your answers. Boom. Here we have them. Pugnawise, perfect active infinitive. Why? Because Aquarius, by the time you heard of it, right, necessarily, this action must have already happened. So Aquarius had fought. So we use the perfect tense to say, ooh, this happened before you heard of it. Here, Katya will understand everything. You know it now, but she doesn't necessarily understand everything yet, which is fine. We're working towards complete understanding. I thought that Samus was arriving, I don't know where, maybe, who knows. In this case, the was arriving is actually happening concurrently with the I thought. I thought in the past, at that time, that Samus was arriving at that time that I was thinking. Same time. So if it's the same time as the reporting, we want the present tense. Okay? Let's take a look a little bit more in grammatical language. Maybe that'll be helpful, maybe it won't. Tense in indirect statement is relative. What that means is that when it's not absolute, which means that the perfect tense we don't always translate like a perfect verb, right? The present tense we don't always translate like a present tense. It depends on the tense of the reported action. Infinitive is dependent upon the tense of the reporting verb. So if I say I think that Samus pugnat cum milite, with a soldier, right? Sorry, if I say I think Samam cum milite pugnare, I'm saying I think he's fighting with a soldier. If I say putawi, I thought Samus cum milite pugnare, because now I'm saying putawi, perfect tense. The way I would translate this into English is a little bit different, right? Because I want to say that it's happening, he's fighting at the same time as I thought. So I thought that Samus was fighting cum milite. Intelligisne? Let's, in some ways, and again, this emphasis happens at the same time, happens before the time of the main verb, happens after the time of the reporting verb for each of these tenses. I think it's best just to get extra practice. So let's look at a few more. Again, now I've put parts of the sentence into Latin, so it's necessary to consider what tense the main verb is, right? It might help you determine which form you would use for each of these. Okay? So pause the video and take your guesses. All right, hopefully you saw this would help. That sounds like this is going to happen after whatever the main verb was. And I look at these three, is there any future? Yes, there's that uterum, that you are here. Because it gives it away as the future tense. So I would use uterum esse, future active. Eutropius dicit Caesarem was killed in Curia, in the Senate. Eutropius says Caesar was killed in the Curia. When is this happening relative to the main verb? It is happening, before, this happened before the time that Eutropius tells us. So not ocidi, present tense, not occisorum, future tense, but occisum esse, perfect tense. Because the action being reported happened before the actual reporting. Now we have here, Caesar audiwit Pompeium had been routed. Caesar heard that Pompey had been routed. It's not going to be present tense, same time, not going to be perfect passive. It is going to be perfect passive, sorry. It's not going to be future because this action happens before, again, Caesar heard of it. Pompey has to have been routed before Caesar's going to hear about it. So we would use the perfect tense. In this case, the perfect passive the perfect passive infinitive. All right, so now that we've had a few more examples, finally, let's just look at this exemplum in Anglicae, or sorry, this exemplum Anglicum, and try and translate the whole thing into Latin. So putting it all together. I've given you a helpful verb, and I've given you a helpful noun, but do your best. All right, we'll go over it together in class tomorrow.